Hi, my name is Maurice Weinrobe. I'm a volunteer at the Hospice of the Good Shepherd. The following video was conducted on behalf of the Hospice of the Good Shepherd and the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress. The Veterans History Project collects, preserves, and makes accessible the personal accounts of American veterans so that future generations may hear directly from the veterans and better understand the realities of war. The United States Congress created the Veterans History Project in the year 2000. The authorizing legislation received unanimous support and was signed into law by President Clinton on October 27, 2000. The Hospice of the Good Shepherd supports the Veteran History Project as part of its initiatives that address the unique needs of veterans who are confronting a life-limiting illness. This video will be archived at the Library of Congress and made available to researchers and the general public. I hope you enjoy this veteran's stories. Today is February 6th, 2013, and we are in Dedham, Massachusetts, and this interview is with Albert Abbey, who served in the Second World War, primarily in Europe. My name is Maurice Weinrobe, and I'm a volunteer at the Hospice of the Good Shepherd. Mr. Abbey was born in May 25th, 1924 in New York.
Only lived there 1 year.
But only lived there 1 year. a temporary resident of the great city of New York. Albert, I wonder if you could begin by telling me a little bit about your life before World War II and before you entered the Army.
Well, I grew up in Newport, Rhode Island. I was sort of a hotshot kid. Without being a braggadocio, I won a lot of scholarship medals. I represented the city of Newport in the school safety parade. I represented Newport in what we called, in those days, Boy State. When one of the kids in town was elected to participate in the state legislature as a make-believe, and I represented Newport there, and I was appointed by the governor-elect, make-believe, as registrar of motor vehicles, and among other things, I did quite well as I was growing up in terms of scholarship or work, the whole bit.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had an older brother who was gone. And I have a younger brother still living in Newport.
Still in Newport.
Yeah.
Were either of them in the service? Were either of them in the military?
No.
I see. That was, you were growing up during the Depression. Did that have much of an impact on your life?
Yes, it did. We grew up poor, and that had a psychological effect on me, and that it made me quite conservative. And I shouldn't have been quite that conservative. But it had, if it, in that situation, it had a profound effect.
How did it come to pass that you joined the service? I think you said you were drafted into the service.
Yes, I graduated high school in 1942. I was going on to college, and I spent 1 year in college, 1942-43. Then my age group was called up to serve,
Uh-huh.
and I served for practically 3 years.
Were you disappointed that you had to leave college?
Yes and no. Don't forget, we were attacked, and everybody was serving somehow, somewhere. And I felt it's my duty as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when they called up, when I got that letter from, I don't know it was Roosevelt or who, it was Roosevelt, we want you, it was just a natural thing.
Uh-huh. And where did you serve your basic training?
At Fort McClellan, Alabama.
Now that must have been a culture shock.
And hot. I was, as I said, when I took the exams at Fort Devens, when you enter the service, they give you what they call an HEC test, an IQ test. Apparently I did well enough to qualify for what was called the Army Specialized Training Program, ASTP.
Uh-huh.
Where these bright American young students were, after basic training, were sent to colleges all over the country to enhance their education and become senior technicians. The only problem was in March of 44 to dissolve the program.
Oh.
And they sent us to camps all over the country. And I went from there to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, to the 69th Infantry Division. But after a while, they called me out because on the other side of the post, they were forming combat engineer units and they needed cadre. So that's where I wound up.
Uh-huh. And then how long did the training last in the combat engineering division?
While I was in a combat engineer unit, I was not an active engineer. I was responsible for the communications within the unit and to headquarters and so forth. And that was ongoing
I see.
until the end of the war. Then we went to schools and stuff like that.
Uh-huh. When did you ship out for Europe? When did you go to Europe?
I shipped out of Boston, I think in August of 44.
Uh-huh. And how many men were in your unit?
Well, it was an engineer battalion. An engineer battalion has 800 some odd men. There are three companies, about 100, I would say close to 200, in my particular company C.
And was it the same group of guys that you were in your training in Mississippi? Did they all go, or did you join up with other groups?
No, we all went as a unit.
Uh-huh. I would think the nice part of that is that you would know the people that you were going with. Had you made any strong friendships with people by that point?
one whose pathway was similar to mine,
Uh-huh. Where was he from?
Arizona.
Before you went into the Army, did you know many people from other parts of the country?
No,
Was that a difficult adjustment, or did you enjoy meeting people?
you do what you have to do. The sergeant says jump, I say, how high?
Good attitude for the Army.
Well, in high school we had a junior ROTC unit.
In high school?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
one of the few in New England. And I was involved with that.
Uh-huh. So where did you land in Europe? Where did you go to?
In Europe,
Yeah.
England, France, and Germany.
And so was your unit involved with active combat?
Yes. We, part of the American 7th Army. You can still see the insignia up there. Abbey. I didn't, but we built bridges and blew cross rivers, the usual kinds of activities that combat engineers do. Excuse me. You may know that each Army division in those days was triangular. They all had their own engineers. We supported them.
Uh-huh.
And then if they needed additional help or needed something else, we we were called Corps Engineers. And if you look on a uniform, you'll see the American 7th Army.
I'm
on the
gonna
left.
move the camera over to the uniform. Yes, I see.
And
Uh-huh.
on the right,
Yep.
if you look on the right shoulder,
Yes, uh-huh.
that's the Corps. 21st Corps, CORP. One of the last of the American units formed. American 7th Army in World War II was a little bit like a sideshow. It wasn't patent, it wasn't that kind of stuff.
And did you go first to England? You landed in England? And then how long were you in England?
Let's see, August of 44 to New Year's Eve 45. You won't believe it, but I landed in England at a town called Tiverton.
Uh,
Are you familiar?
no.
We have a Tiverton right here,
Ah,
nearby, and it's the original Tiverton.
I see. So they took the name here from that town. And then you went over to France at that point?
From England to France as an advanced party. Spent a lot of time in France. The American 7th Army. Then we crossed into Germany in middle of 45.
And so at that point, the war was winding down, but there was still active fighting going
A
on.
lot of active fighting. We lost a few good men. But considering we were corps troops, not indigenous to the divisions we were sort of sheltered a
Uh-huh.
little bit.
And clearly you were doing the logistic support
Exactly.
for the forces. And how much longer were you in Germany before the end of the war?
4 or 5 months.
Uh-huh. And then did you stay in Germany after the end of fighting?
Yes. Instead of taking us out, sending us to Japan, because that was still going on, they made us occupation, and we stayed in Germany all that time.
I see. What would be the most memorable part of your time in Europe?
Believe it or not, Bavaria, gorgeous country.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what I told him. We wound up at Hitler's retreat.
Tell me a little bit about that, at Hitler's retreat.
It's way up in the Berghof, way up in the Bavarian Alps, just before the tunnel. The tunnel comes in from Italy. That was a unique experience in that we were fighting the French and the English to get there first. You know, some guys came back with Hitler's logo on knives and silver.
Oh my.
We were too late. But that part was unique to wind up, of all places, there. Then we were, as I said, made occupation, and we lived in Germany I lived in Germany from end of the war to March of '46, and went to various schools and helped organize indoctrination and orientation for the rest of the troops. It was a unique experience.
And when you came back, did you go back into school? Did you go back to college? Where did you go for school?
I came back in March, started school in September,
Uh-huh.
and worked in between.
And were you on the GI Bill when you went back to
Part
school?
of it, just part, because I was saving it for graduate school, but I only used it for 1 year afterwards, and I got my BS in science at URI, and a master's at Columbia,
I see.
where I used the GI Bill.
And today, it's unusual to have veterans coming back into college. I bet in 1946 there were a lot of vets.
That's all they were. They make special housing and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh. And I would think it was pretty serious stuff. You weren't fooling around, carousing.
We're a different breed of men. I belonged to a fraternity as president, all that kind of stuff. I banished hazing, all that kind of. We were no kids anymore.
Right.
We were 22, had seen a lot of guys get killed and all that kind of stuff. It was a different kind of environment.
Yeah. Do you think...
And saw the death camps.
You did? Had you actually seen the concentration camps?
Saw Dachau.
Tell me a little bit about Dachau.
that even though it's not far from Munich where we spent a lot of time, we didn't know it. We had heard rumors and so forth. And one day, one of our men came running back. You gotta see this. And he took the commanding officer, the guy I worked for, forward. And he saw it. He said, "This is beyond me. I have to call the regimental commander." The regimental commander came up. He says, "Shoot those locks off, get those people furnished, feed them bread." The first thing that happened was an American doctor came by and said, "Stop it. Don't feed these people. They'll die. They're not used to it. Easy, easy." And that's what happened. They were starving and asked for anything. But we couldn't help them too much. But I did see inside the so-called lagers where I had 9, 10, 15 people sleeping where should be 4 or 5. It was unusual. Then after that I got shipped out when we were sent home.
So you were actually there when the camps opened up, when the prisoners were released from the
A day or
camp?
two after. The cow.
Is there anything in your life equal to that in terms of impact?
No. No. You could smell it for miles.
Have you been back to Europe after? Were you able to go for pleasure and relax?
Oh, when my wife was alive, we did a lot of cruising with the stops and so forth. But I couldn't get her to go to Europe, to Germany.
Uh-huh. She just wouldn't go.
No,
I can understand that.
I can understand. She came from a very prestigious American Jewish family. Her great uncle became a world famous sculptor. Are you familiar with sculptor at all?
A little bit.
His name was Ezekiel, Sir Moses Ezekiel. And he became world famous. Designed a lot of statues.
Uh-huh.
In fact, he's at Arlington. He built the statue at Arlington, which is for the Confederate graves, and he's buried at the foot. His eulogy was given by President Harding.
Uh-huh. Have you stayed active in any veterans organizations?
Not for a long time. All the usual thing, the VFW, the DAV, all that kind of stuff. But nothing active until a friend of mine here said, "Al, you're a vet, why don't you join the Jewish War Vets?" I said, "Oh, I'm not that interested." But I did join and was active in it for 2 years, then wound up here.
Uh-huh. And I bet the young veterans are very different from World War II vets.
Oh, different ballgame altogether. They they're interested in going on very quickly. Apparently, when I tell people ask me, are you a vet? And I said, yeah, of World War II. They thank me. I said, I don't know why. I was just one of 14 million guys who did what we were supposed to do.
Well,
But that's what it was. It was a different ballgame altogether.
I think there are many ways that people serve mitzvahs, and serving the country is certainly one of those.
What you're supposed to do.
Well, it's honorable to do what you're supposed
Thank
to
you.
do. Well, I don't want to tire you out and
No,
run
not
longer
at
than
all.
we have to. This was
Not at
quite a
all.
pleasure.
I appreciate your coming and listening to my story.
Well, thank you.